Good afternoon. This is Dr. Lana Walton coming to you for the last session of interpersonal relation communications with Native African American. So, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hoping that you all are doing fine at this time during the pandemic. And so we're going to jump right in on into the worldviews of Native African American. Now, worldview is our interpretation of the world of people looking out, trying to understand their reality. And of course, our perception is our reality. And we can apply it to one person or we can apply it to a population. And in this instance, we are applying reality, our worldview to the population of Native African Americans who see things in a certain way in comparison to other Americans or other people in the world. Now, every society has a worldview, and that worldview varies dramatically depending on the society. The world also has a worldview. And right now, the world's worldview is on progress. It's on change. It's a good thing for things to change. It's on technology that rocks. It's on science. Science being the answer to so many things, to cures, and for now, science being the answer to the coronavirus, amongst other things. Now, I believe that the worldviews never emerge out of nowhere. People don't just have a worldview out of nowhere. It always surfaces in some kind of historical context, responding to certain kind of social, economical, and political conditions of the time. And therefore, the worldviews of us Native African Americans come from a people who are products of this time, 2020. And for instance, some of us Native African Americans believe that disastrous events in the world, such as the coronavirus pandemic, remember Katrina, the Katrina flood that happened so many years ago, the tornadoes and the floods and the hurricanes and earthquakes and fires and floods that happened just last year. Well, a lot of Native African Americans believe that this is God's punishment against people's choices of not observing Him, while other African Americans and other people in the world too believe that it is because of people themselves. For instance, people ignoring global climate change and things of that nature. Now, the difference in the view is a result of explanations from family members, just talking to family, talking to neighbors, talking to maybe people at the store, talking to people on your jobs, talking with people in church groups, people out of church groups, listening to the pastor, um, listening to the media, and it depends on what religion, what denomination or religion one may be in as an African American, as we do have a variety of religions, including Muslim religions and other religions that are not basically Baptist and Methodist and those are the type religions. Now, here's a joke. If you remember your history, you know that the Greeks and Romans worldview was based on reason. It was based on reason, and it was based on experience. But when Rome fell, what happened? Their worldview changed. The worldview changed when Rome fell. But for the most part, Native African Americans see their experience as not changing. We see our experience as not changing in America when we look to the past historical uh, events of slavery, of Reconstruction, of Jim Crow, contributing to the systemic racism in America and the oppressive attitudes and practices in America that has resulted in discrimination in housing and in education and healthcare and employment and loans and in economic gain. Whereas European Americans believe, mostly believe, not all, but a lot of them believe that the historical events such as the Civil Rights Movement actually led to more social justice and democratic ideals for Native African Americans, and especially since we are no longer enslaved. So they feel that things are getting better for us, whereas our worldview is that we have gone right back almost past the civil rights movement to, if it was a law, we would probably be in slavery again. And there's also a different worldview in the religious arena, with black churches looking at 400 years of oppression of Native African American people as a reason to vote one way, while the white evangelicals look only at the biblical side of a sin to abort, the same-sex marriage, ignoring the fact that the hate and the killing of any human being, regardless of their race or their class or their sexual orientation or any of the above, is a sin according to God. Um, and so you can talk about what you think your worldview is, what your worldview is, or what your view is of the world, and your view of the United States where we are residing at the moment. Next, we're going to go to, how do Native African Americans form identity? How do we form identity? Well, first of all, we are a very strong people. We have seen our ancestors fight the battle. We have read about our ancestors fighting the battle. And so, first of all, we fight against negative stereotypes of us being inferior to white people, violent people, stereotype. We fight the stereotypes of being lazy, of being defiant, deviant, milking the welfare system dry, living one day at a time, unintelligent, having a different smell. That's even a stereotype. Different odor, laughing a lot. All we do is laugh, and then last but not least, of being criminals, especially our black men's being criminals. So we fight those type stereotypes. How we fight them, we also teach our youth about achievements of their ancestors back then, and the people now, the people that they look up to, or we have to look up to now. We also adopt slogans. This is another way that we form our identity. We adopt slogans such as Black Power, Black is Beautiful, Black doesn't crack, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, African Queen, African King, Black Lives Matter, and black rocks. We also adopt special names. We'll have an oddly adopted, I am the greatest. Then my brother had a name he was called Hat. That was his special name, and he was called that because of the big hats that he used to wear. Then my son was named Biggie Boy. That's because he was almost 10 pounds when he was born. Well, he was over 9 pounds. The granddaughter was called Smelly because her little diapers used to smell. And then I remember someone's brother was called Shotgun. Now, why I don't know why he was called Shotgun to this day. But then another name was Pookie. My nickname was Tootie. Sister's name was Jenny. And then my aunt, my beautiful aunt, was named Sis, when that was not her name at all. But I kind of thought maybe she inherited that name because she was a sister, and probably the brothers just referred to her as Sis, but that was her name. Another way, okay, so we'll end that part and go to how Native African Americans combat discriminatory practices. We have been through so much, but we combat discriminatory practices by, number one, avoidance. We leave problems behind. If we have to migrate and go somewhere else, we've done that. We've done that many times. Our parents, in fact, did that many times. They migrated from the South to the North, trying to leave Jim Crow and the lynching and all of that was going on back then. And then even recently, more recently, some of the people from the North and the West relocated to the South because they felt that it was more economically better for them to live. But once the administration changed about 4 years ago, and it seems that they were looking at the same type of atmosphere that they were looking at when Wallace was there, the killing and a few lynching. Some of them moved and returned to where they came from. Another way we fight discriminatory practices is we respond in ways that people see as defiant, even though we see it as reasonable. And the protesting is one of those ways. We see it as reasonable, they see it as being defiant. And we act openly to challenge and eliminate discriminatory practices through those protests. And we used to have sit-ins, but now it's mostly protests. We also fight against discriminatory practices through verbal confrontations. We let people know that we know what they're doing, and we often take a stand for ourselves. We also withdraw. We might withdraw, and then after we withdraw, we'll go and sue. We'll go to the NAACP, or we'll go to other organizations that we feel might be able to help us. We also let the groups know that the discriminating group or person know that we know what they are doing. And then sometimes we have certain African Americans, and I think it depends a lot on where they live, who seem to accept the situation as it is and go on with life as usual. It's kind of like having the attitude of leave things alone. They're more passive. And then we come to something that we don't like when it's done to us. And those are microaggressions. And the microaggressions, they are brief and commonplace daily verbal behavior or environmental indignities that are done intentionally or unintentionally that communicate to us hostile, derogatory, or negative racial slights and insults toward us. And then we also look at the micro racial aggressions that that is really insulting to us. One is an description called an description of intelligence, where the microaggression is you are a credit to your race. Well, that's very insulting to us, because the message that we receive when we hear someone say that is that people of color are generally not as intelligent as white people, and that it is unusual for someone of your race to be intelligent. That's what that message says to us. It's the microaggressions. Microaggressions are certain things said that make you just cringe on the inside. And then we have one where it's called the color blindness microaggression, that indicates that a white person does not want to acknowledge our race. And it's usually said, when I look at you, I don't see color. I don't see color. So actually, to us, it's denying us our ethnic experience. That's what it does. It denies us as a social cultural being. Another one is saying that it's a criminality assumption. A person of color is presumed to be dangerous or a criminal, as I said earlier, or a defiant on the basis of the race. And so, for instance, a store owner following a customer around the store, and a white person walks to ride the next elevator when a person of a color is on it. Those are microaggressions to us. And then we have the denial of being a racist, a statement made when whites deny their racial biases. For one, I'm not racist. I have several black friends. That is really annoying and a microaggression. Because what it's saying, I am immune to racism because I have friends of color. Your racial oppression is no different than my gender oppression. And that is when you hear a white person say, well, as a woman or as a man, I know what you go through. I'm sorry, a woman normally. As a woman, I know what you go through as a racial minority. No, you don't. No, you don't. Even with a different sexual orientations, the same thing. When we have someone with a different sexual orientation say that I know what you're going through because I am of a different sexual orientation, but no, it is not the same thing. And then there's one that says race does not play which asserts that race does not play a role in life um, successes. That's uh, that's definitely a big insult because what it's saying is that I believe the most qualified person should get a job, and that everyone can assist or succeed in this society if they work hard enough. That is pulling oneself up by the bootstraps. And so that's saying to Native African Americans that people of color are given extra unfair benefits because of their race, and people of color are lazy and are incompetent, and they need to work harder. Another one is asking a black person or an African American person, why do you have to be so loud? Why do you have to talk so loud, so animated? Just calm down. So what they're saying is, you're telling us that we need to assimilate to dominant culture because our voices tend to be a little loud, more loud. Another one is when you see a person of color and they may be out on their lawn, mowing their lawn, or they may be out in front of their house getting ready to go in, and you come up and you observe them as the person doing the grass or as the groundkeeper. And one more, having a taxi pass a person who is an African American and pick up someone white, or either in the store when you see a person that is black or African American, or at a restaurant and you see a person who is African American who was there first, but then you turn and you wait on a person that is white who came after them. Those are all microaggressions. And so finally, I say, what are we going to do to fix the problem? There needs to be something in place to fix the problem. And one of my favorite advices is to immerse yourself with African Americans. Purposely immerse yourself with African Americans. Get to know African Americans. If it's at any way you can visit an African American, maybe for 1 or 2 weekends, stay in their house, hang out with them, eat with them, go to church with them, go to a movie or something that's fun. you would see that Native African American people are very, very friendly people and very caring people. And this whole idea is that we need to get along. That in this world, no man is an island, and no man should be left standing alone. And as that song used to say, that each man's joy should bring joy to each and every one of us, and each man's grief should be our own. This land is your land. This land is my land. So we need to do something. We need to immerse getting along with one another, because no one is going anywhere. So I just want to thank you all for listening to me. I want you to share this, those who are Native African Americans, share this video with your friends who are of other cultures. And for those who are other cultures watching this video, you also share it. And make sure that you click like and subscribe so that you will be able to see any other videos that I put up, and the subscription is free. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this session on the Native African American interpersonal communications. There's a lot that you can go online and find out about also that I may have missed. So anyway, good night, and I will see you another time.